Patrick Mahomes. Guys, no notes. I don't need the computer. Just talk from the gut here. Patrick Mahomes. Could this be a signature win for Patrick Mahomes tonight? Signature win, week 1 against the Lions? I think it could. If this shakes out that Kelsey doesn't play and Chris Jones is not playing and Mahomes still beats a Lions team that everybody respects, that goes into the remember when category for Patrick Mahomes. His whole career is remember when. That's how we talk about it. Remember when he went throw for throw with Brady in the playoffs as a young man? Remember when he made the throw against the Niners in the Super Bowl? Remember week 1 when his best player and his best defensive player were out and he still beat the Lions? He still beat the Lions by double digits. Mahomes. I don't care if Kelsey's out, the entire offensive line is out, our wide receivers are out. You have the best player in the world, in the biggest stage in the world, in his stadium. Patrick Mahomes. I kind of like it, guys. When I was a kid, I used to play a lot of Mortal Kombat at this place called Chuck's Lakeshore Inn. They had the arcade game. Yeah. And after a while, we would go and play, and we'd play against each other. And at some point, someone spilled on the console. And it was root beer or beer or something. And 2 of the buttons didn't work. You couldn't do high kick and high punch. It was all low kick and low punch. I think a couple of Patrick Mahomes buttons aren't going to work tonight. And if he still gets the fatality, if he still gets the victory, if he still takes him out, that's Patrick Mahomes starting the season as the best player in the world again. Try to stop him. Try to stop him, I dare you, Jason.
Wow, remember when he did that. Remember when the Lions secondary just improved so much and they were able to go out there opening night and be able to win the game. You talk about a quarterback. You talk about him not having Travis Kelce. The Chiefs aren't known for this wild running game. So to your point, the game will be on Patrick Mahomes' shoulder. And going into this game, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I feel pretty good about it. The Lions defense struggled at the beginning of last season, giving up a ton of points while Goff and the offense were out there balling. And then you look back at last year and just like, well, maybe they were going against some of the toughest quarterbacks in the league and they were just lighting them up. But that wasn't the case. You look at who were the quarterbacks throwing up all these yards and making plays all over the Lions secondary. I take you to the bottom of that. Zach Wilson came in at 317 yards. Shout out Zach. Go out there and have a day last season. So if the Lions are going to win this game, you're talking about what's going to decide it. You're talking about Patrick Mahomes going out there having a signature game. If the Lions are going to win this one, it's going to take some of these new guys stepping up and being able to make plays. These are the improvements. This is why there's so much hype. You bring in a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You draft a guy like Brian Branch. You go out there and get Cam Sutton from Pittsburgh. You're bringing in these guys to change the culture and change the attitude of a defense. You're bringing in secondary players like Gardner-Johnson to go out there and talk trash and set the tempo early on in this game. You're not backing down because it's the defending Super Bowl champs. You don't care about that. Brian Branch was playing at Alabama last year. You're used to winning. You're used to being a champion. Thursday night, opening night for these guys, go out there and make your presence known and set the tempo for the rest of the season if the Lions aren't going to be the same team that we've watched for decades now.
You know, the highest PFF graded player at cornerback in the NFL during the preseason was Stephen Gilmore. You know who that is?
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore's little brother. He's playing for the Lions as well in their defensive backfield. And he's going to
highest ranked.
Out of Marshall. He had the best preseason out of any corner from PFF.
It's Stephon and Stephen, like Urkel?
Exactly right. So they're going to be adding to that list, and I love what you said. Exactly. Stephon Urkel.
But I knew that.
You got Lisa.
Yeah. Hey.
I love the defensive talk. I love the Mahomes talk, obviously. I was just bathing in your words. The Lions offense, I think, is going to put on a show.
Yeah.
And I think it's tonight, and I think it's the rest of the season. I was bold enough to say earlier this week on a different outlet, I think the Lions offense is going to be number 1 ranked in the entire league. I think points, yards, I think they are going to be a high-powered offense. This would be a meteoric rise, almost like the greatest show on turf, where you're like, wait, what? The Lions? And they're indoors most of those games. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. And the reason I'm so confident is the play caller, Ben Johnson, and what he has in store. And I think he empties the bag a little bit to John Knight. I think this guy right here has some stuff up his sleeve, and I feel like he's been in the laboratory the last several months. And he's been watching the defensive tape of what the Chiefs can't do, and with Chris Jones out, what they can do for Detroit. And I think he's got some stuff. And it's not just going to be a stand defense, Jared Goff, just plug it in and go. I think there's going to be some trick plays tonight.
Sweet.
I think this guy. Go back to last year, a big, crucial 3rd and 8 against the Vikings in a huge divisional game. Who is that in motion?
This is great.
That's their offensive tackle, Penei Sewell, going out on a 3rd and 8. Get off of me. Get off of me. 3rd and 8. That's the play call. Let's go to Sewell.
That sealed the game.
That sealed the game. That put it away. And then you go to week 18. when the Packers are fighting for their playoff lives on a 2nd and 17 up 4 in Lambeau and you call a hook and line?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Real quick, this
play.
offense, I think they're going to be fun. I think they're going to be innovative. I think they're going to put up a ton of yards, ton of points. I think it starts tonight. I also thought it was really interesting what they did with the running backs. They had a really good running backs room last year. Jamal Williams had 18 touchdowns. Tied Barry Sanders' all-time record for the Lions. DeAndre Swift was a second-round pick who had a really good year last year. They decided to blow up the running back room. They're like, it's not good enough for us. We're going to go even higher. They drafted one in the first round in Jahmyr Gibbs. They signed one for big money in David Montgomery. And I feel like they have looked at their offense and said, if we're going to go anywhere this year, it's going to be because of our offensive play calling and the weapons that we have. I am super excited to see this offense. I think they score a lot of points. I think that's going to be the factor. If they can do what I think they can, I think they can beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead.
I love everyone's points. Peter, I know you're on one about watching Jahmyr Gibbs tonight. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for you. There are two stars. There are two stars in this game, though, that we have not talked about yet. Two fine gentlemen in the game of football that have great impact. Kyle talked about, can Dan Campbell coach? Can't wait to figure it out. Look at those two faces.
Awesome.
Look at those two faces. Dan Campbell versus Andy Reid.
Creatine and cream cheese. There it is.
This is an incredible. I dove a little deeper. You know,
Is your Mortal
Dan
Kombat?
Campbell, right? Exactly. High kick, low kick. 47 years old, Dan Campbell is. You do the math there. If Dan Campbell amasses 24 seasons as a head coach, he'd be about 68. Who knows how many wins he would be? Are we looking at the beginning and not the end, but like what it looks like to be in the league for 24 years, how many wins you can get, how many Super Bowls you can get? The coaching tonight, I think, is going to be off the charts. These guys are ready. They've had all summer to prepare for each other. They are, it was not facetious, they are fine gentlemen in the NFL. People love these guys.
In all honesty,
and I cannot wait to see what they
You're
do.
making a point. Dan Campbell might have to make a big decision with 3 minutes left, up 3 or down 3. Like, that's the question. Tactically, is Dan Campbell ready to go up against these great coaches who are just game management wizards? Like, if the Lions are going to do it, Dan Campbell's going to have to coach and not just pump guys up. Let's see tonight if he can
We
do
heard
it.
on the last week, Andy Reid gets plays from janitors. He's amassed 247 wins. Dan Campbell, could this be his 18th win as a head coach? It's a wild juxtaposition of numbers, but it would be so impactful.
It's true. We know he's a great character.
Yes.
Is he one of the better coaches in the league? Like, if he goes in and beats Big Red, a Hall of Famer, and Mahomes and Arrowhead, that is at the top of his resume. I absolutely love it, guys.